Welcome to a debate special. As you can see, we're not in our normal studio. We've actually hot-footed it up the motorway to the home of Salford City, the Peninsula Stadium, just to see Gary Neville. Because after you spoke to us on Sky Sports News this morning, Gary, I'm sure like everybody else, you were still in not a state of shock, but as the day has unfolded and the story has gathered momentum, what are your thoughts now in terms of different from this morning? i.e., do you think that Jose Mourinho failed Manchester United or Manchester United failed him?
I think the first thing that I think as the day moves on is the fact that someone's lost their job from a football point of view, and I always think that's incredibly sad because it means it's not worked out for obviously him, but it's not worked out for the club. And I think when Jose came to Manchester United 2.5 years ago, this was the no-brainer. This was the banker. This was the one that couldn't fail. This was one that's never failed. And I couldn't look at Jose Mourinho's time and say he's failed when he's won 2 trophies and got to an FA Cup final. I grew up in the 70s and 80s at a football club, but he's not come what he's always done, which is win the Premier League or get close to it. And I think that is the big problem. I think the last 6 months have been messy, scabby. I said on Sunday, I think, and I repeat it, the club has been crawling on its hands and knees from minute to minute, hour to hour, day to day, match to match for the last 2 months, and it's been awful to watch for anybody that's associated or likes Manchester United and loves Manchester United.
But when you look at his tenure there, 2 trophies, and to finish second last season, he got them back into the Champions League. Why didn't it kick on from there? Did he not adapt enough to the current structure at Manchester United, or did they not adapt enough to him?
When a manager doesn't quite achieve what he wants at a football club, Geoff, it's not just down to one thing, and you can never quite put your finger on it. There's no doubt that in the last 6 months, Jose's displayed an unhappiness, I think at times a lack of tolerance with the board in respect of the disappointment that he wasn't supported in the way in which he wanted to be in the summer. We know what Jose's like. He doesn't hide away from confrontation with his boardroom, he doesn't hide away from confrontation with his sporting directors if he's been at clubs. If he doesn't get the signings that he wants, he makes it known. And in his 3rd year, historically, he's had troubles because that's the time where it's always a 3-year project with him. From the first day of pre-season when he did that first press conference, you're just thinking, oh no. And the club, to be fair, having given him a contract last Christmas, were in a position of weakness where they didn't have that sort of, if you like, that sort of idea that his contract ran out at the end of this season. You either have to back a manager completely or you have to get rid of them. And I think that United were halfway houses, to be honest with you. They backed him last January, but in the summer, when it came to the signings that he wanted, the club disagreed with those signings. And when you disagree with the signings of your manager in a football club, you're done. And the manager is done. In any club, forget Manchester United, you're finished.
Do you think, metaphorically speaking, that he had lost large parts of the dressing room? The focus is all on Paul Pogba. Clearly that relationship broke down. But do you think he had lost the support, the 100% support of the dressing room? It's
been confusing for me answering that question in the last 2 or 3 months because there are certain games where I've thought they've gone. The players have gone on him. They're done. And the next week, you'll see them do what they did against Newcastle in the last 25 minutes or go away to Juventus and do what they did in the last half an hour, and you think, where did that come from? And there is no doubt there has been discontent in the dressing room from more than Paul Pogba in this last 2 or 3 months. The players look unhappy. They don't look like they're behind the plan. They don't look like they believe in it. And on the other hand, I genuinely believe Jose's lost faith in the players. I think Jose's lost trust in the players, lost belief in the players. I don't think he thinks they're good enough. And you've got to remember, Jose Mourinho's had some top sides over this last 15 years, and there is some truth in both of it. That there's no doubt players, I think, had lost the belief in the manager, but the manager had lost belief in the trust and faith in the players.
Ultimately, though, is it not the manager's responsibility? And it's his job, no matter if he can't stand players individually or them, he's got to get results out of them. So ultimately, is it right that he carries the can?
No, absolutely. We're all sort of that have been in the game in the last whatever it is, 50, 100 years, you know full well that you're the one that carries the can. The club are not going to get rid of £700-800 million worth of talent when they can get rid of a manager. It might cost them 25-30 million quid. So the reality of it is the manager will always fall. The manager will always be the scapegoat. The manager will always be the one that gets blamed, but it's never that simple. There have been 3 excellent managers that have now failed at Manchester United in the last 7 years. Jose Mourinho has won wherever he has been. This was the banker. This was the one that was definitely going to win the title, in my mind as well. I never thought for 1 second Jose Mourinho would leave this football club without winning a title. If you know, he was backed in the right way. Manchester United backed him to a level. Manchester City have been exceptional, but Manchester City not just beating Manchester United on the pitch, they're beating them off the pitch. Liverpool are not just beating Manchester United on the pitch, they're beating them off the pitch. So when I say the manager's a scapegoat, absolutely, and I can see. Was I shocked this morning? No, this has probably been coming for the last few weeks, couple of months. In fact, it's been coming since pre-season. The minute that you saw that confrontation between players, between the board, between the transfer requests, all those transfer stuff with centre-backs, you just knew it was going to be a mess. And it's happened that way. It's been a mess. And I have to say that in this last few weeks, it's been terrible to watch. Awful on all sides.
Well, if it's been terrible to watch these last few weeks, how awful did you find, because I saw your response, Paul Pogba's tweet today?
I actually like Paul Pogba as a player. Manchester United are a better team with Paul Pogba in it. That's the first thing to say. He's a huge talent. I actually have belief in him as a player. I actually liked him when he was at the club as a player as a kid. It's not a personal thing.
No. Nobody's suggesting.
Paul Pogba, there is no doubt, has fallen out with the manager. He doesn't believe in him, doesn't like him, doesn't think he's a good coach, probably. And vice versa, Jose Mourinho doesn't think Paul Pogba is as talented a player as he thinks he is. So there's been a complete breakdown in the last 6 months between the pair of them, probably 12 months. And there is no doubt there's probably a high level of dislike there. However, Jose Mourinho lost his job this morning. And Paul Pogba and his people put that Instagram post out. And don't fall for this coincidence, scheduled tweet nonsense. It's garbage. Absolute garbage. Do not let.
What do you think he was trying to do with that tweet? Gloat?
Yeah, I think, to be fair, Paul Pogba's got a big personality. I do believe he's a character and a leader. I do think he's got great qualities in that sense. I don't think he backs away from a fight. And I think he probably would have liked to have gone public earlier on Jose Mourinho. I think he would like to have gone public a lot earlier on how the club is at this moment in time. But on Jose Mourinho's side, I bet when he thought Paul Pogba won the World Cup in the summer, I bet he thought he was coming back to an impossible situation where basically he thought, this player's going to be out of control now. And I can see both sides of the story. I do think Paul Pogba is Manchester United a better team with Paul Pogba in it, but I do believe that this morning to dance on the grave of the manager who's just been sacked is out of order. And to be fair, that's the reason I tweeted. It was nothing personal. I say Paul Pogba's a fantastic player.
If a new manager comes in and Paul Pogba starts tearing up trees and is the player that you say he is, what does that tell us?
It can happen.
Because regardless if you don't like the manager, surely you should give the utmost. You should give 100%, which is exactly what Jose Mourinho said to us after the game on Sunday.
But that happens in football. Diego Forlan wasn't that good at Manchester United as a football player, but was sensational when he went and played in a different club. That's not a reflection on Sir Alex Ferguson. Sometimes it just doesn't work out between manager, between club, between player. That dynamic happens. Juan Sebastian Veron came to Manchester United. Didn't quite happen for him. Couldn't quite work. Juan Sebastian Veron was a sensational player, went and played brilliantly for other clubs and before and after Manchester United. So the idea that it's, you know, Jose Mourinho's fault that Paul Pogba isn't playing well, it's a reflection on both. Because a great player plays in all circumstances. And I've seen great players at Manchester United. I watched Brian Robson during the 80s at Manchester United. He was great through everything. Norman Whiteside was great through everything. Mark Hughes was great through everything. There were soldiers all the way through the 80s when Manchester United weren't winning the leagues, when managers were getting sacked, when it was difficult. So you can be a great player and great character when you don't get on with the manager or when times aren't good and when you're not winning things. Let's be clear about that. It's a reflection upon Paul Pogba that he's fallen out with the manager as well as it is on the manager that he's fallen out with Paul Pogba. It's a two-way street. Let's not just put it on one guy, which is always the manager.
Thanks very much, Gary. After the break, I'll be asking Gary for his thoughts on how the club can restructure on and off the pitch. Welcome back to the debate special on the day that Jose Mourinho parted company with Manchester United. Gary, I know you were live on the phone to Sky Sports News when they said actually there was going to be an interim manager. Having had time to think about it, do you think it's actually a sensible thing so the club can reset itself? Or for you, is it more of the fuddled thinking that's got Manchester United into this mess?
No, I think that this next 6 months are a critical period of planning and restructuring. I can't believe for 1 minute that the board, the owners, are going to continue to operate the club off the pitch from a football point of view the way in which they have been for the last 6-7 years. They need the best in class football leaders in that football club, and that's people who've done it at the best clubs in the world, at the best clubs in Europe, who have operated recruitment departments, who have looked at the technical side of the game, who have linked academy to first team. You know, Sir Alex Ferguson did that himself. He linked the whole club as one, and that's not possible anymore. The club's too big, the club's huge, and the club have got a fantastic commercial and operations side in respect of the way in which they operate, a model that's being copied all around the world, and to be fair, they deserve huge credit for that. It's innovative, it's incredible, it's a machine. But on the football side, since Sir Alex left and David Gill left, there's been a huge void, and they've tried to replace it with a similar structure, which is sort of CEO and manager, and it's not unreasonable to continue to try that for the last 5-6 years, but I think now is the time to put what would be a more modern structure in place: head of football, sporting director, technical director, but the very best in class, the best recruitment people, the people who can get Manchester United ahead of the game. Manchester United are behind the game. You always feel like they're one step behind. You almost feel like they're chasing the player that someone else has spotted, rather than being the people who spot that player. And I always feel at the moment they just feel like a level of naivety. And maybe it's, to be fair, complex as well, the structure, in terms of, I'm not sure who. I always ask this question in the summer when Jose Mourinho wanted those centre-backs. Who said no? Who is the person that said to Jose Mourinho, the most successful manager of the last 20 years, no, I'm not signing that player? Now, it could be a financial person, it could be a football person, but who are they?
It's my understanding that there is a structure not that dissimilar to other clubs, like Liverpool, like Arsenal, but you are unaware, people are unaware of exactly who is making those decisions. Does it need to be public? Is it the most important point that the manager has an input into it, and it is discussion? Because, as you know, that a manager can have different targets that aren't aligned to the club.
Who are these people, Geoff? Sorry.
Well, clearly it's not just Ed Woodward sat in the corner saying yes to him and no to him.
No, but who,
so there'll be a structure below him. There'll be a recruitment group. You know the club.
But if you're not going to listen to the manager of the football club on signings, which is fine, that's a model that can be deployed, and you can have a sporting director, head of recruitment, and you can have that sort of structure in. But who are they? What I'm saying is, you can't keep it secret at Manchester United. This is the biggest club in the world. You can't just have invisible employees that we don't know about.
The club have said they're going to bring in a sporting director. We understand there was some resistance from Jose to work with a sporting director. That's not what he wanted. So for you, is that a positive step?
I think I've got a problem that the coach of a football club, has, to be fair, tells the owners what structure they should deploy above him. That's what I'm saying. There's a lack of control. So my point is, if they had to get rid of Jose Mourinho to employ a sporting director, that's fine, no problem. But the idea that they were being stopped in the first place, restructuring the football club by a manager, to be fair, is a nonsense. You know,
do they need one for a start? In your eyes, desperately, given what's happened?
You can call that person what you like, but they need the best-in-class operator of football side of the club. Now, this is the biggest football club in the world, in my opinion, along with Real Madrid and Barcelona. Most revenue, got biggest pockets.
That's all success.
And you need to make sure that money, I'm sure the owners are looking at it thinking they want their money invested wisely and protecting. So you have to employ the best people to go and get the players for you, to go and get this ahead of the game. And this moment in time, Manchester United's recruitment in this last 6-7 years has been led by managers' philosophies, not by the club's philosophy. And that's a big problem.
You've been very critical of the structure. Would you want a role there yourself?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm not fit for purpose. I'm not fit for purpose at that football club. I said best in class, who's done this at the best football clubs in the world.
You own a football club? You've been a manager for a short time?
I own this football club. It's a non-league football club. It's a National League football club. I love what we're doing here. I love what we're doing here. There's absolutely no way in a million years, one, will I ever get employed at Manchester United, to be fair, and secondly, should I ever be employed at Manchester United? You know, maybe 15, 20 years' time, if I go and prove myself to be an incredible sporting director somewhere, which I'm not planning to do because I've got too much interest in this part of the world. Absolutely not. This needs to be the best in class internationally.
OK,
it's not about sort of... We've got to take emotion out of it at Manchester United. Oh, get him back, get him... No, get the best people who have run the best clubs in the world and do it properly this time. Reset properly with a coach that meets the values of Manchester United, not that doesn't meet the values. Not that doesn't meet the values.
As we sit here now, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is the heavy favourite to be the interim manager. It's not confirmed as yet, but he is the heavy favourite. If that is the case, what do you make of that appointment on an interim basis?
I would suggest that, to be fair, the person who goes in for the next 6 months has to be somebody who can steady the ship, who knows the club, who can bring people together, who has an understanding of the people in the club, the fans and the media, and to be fair, the club just needs that feel-good factor back. You would hope that's in anticipation of Manchester United appointing the very best-in-class head coach at the end of the season.
Does he fit that mould?
Of course he does, but there are a number of other players who would fit that mould, ex-players at the club or who've been coaches. My point is, I think at this moment in time, I can see where an interim appointment for the next 6 months is someone that brings favour and goodwill. And to be honest with you, he absolutely would fit into that category, as would Laurent Blanc, that's been mentioned today, as would Steve Bruce, who I saw mentioned earlier on today, as would a couple of others that have been. Michael Carrick's been mentioned. So these 3 or 4 people who, to be fair, have known the club, they would actually just have to steady the ship, hold the fort till the end of the season, where Manchester United can go and get what they believe to be the next manager of this football club for the next 4 to 5 years. However, if they go and win the Champions League in the next 5 to 6 months...
My next point...
It can happen. It's happened before. And then you all say, OK, leave them in charge. But with the understanding that in the background, you're restructuring the football side of the club from the technical point of view and the recruitment point of view, but you're also making sure that the actual head coach that actually is the best in the world that they can get comes to the club.
How much power has got an interim manager got, though, when the players look and think, he's gone in the summer? I mean, Roberto Di Matteo won the Champions League with Chelsea.
Roberto Di Matteo was an interim manager and won the Champions League. I was an interim manager for 4 months at Valencia, but I didn't know the club and I didn't have any favour or goodwill with me.
Different.
No, different. The person that we're talking about coming in now, if you mention those names that I threw before, have goodwill, favour, and to be fair, one thing the fans will not accept, because those players that have been flaring up a little bit, yeah, they've fallen out with the manager, so they flared up a little bit, and you can't silence players. But then your excuse has gone now.
So they've got to perform.
Now you've got to perform.
Tell me, whoever comes in, do you think with the squad they've got, they could, or indeed should, be top 4?
Yeah, of course they should be top 4. They finished second last season with the same squad. So why wouldn't they be top 4 this season?
Let's talk about the potential new manager next summer. You said straight away, Pochettino is the ideal man. Do you think...
For me, in my opinion.
Yes.
So only my opinion.
Yep, fine. Do you think Manchester United, and try and be unbiased because of your love or loyalty to the club, is the best possible destination for somebody like Pochettino?
I think it's the... Maybe it is bias, maybe it's because sort of I've grown up...
Given the way they've gone through managers since Sir Alex left, unless things change, is it as attractive as a proposition as it once was?
Yeah. Yeah. Jose Mourinho came to Manchester United. To me, of course, you could argue that if you got offered Bayern Munich, Real Madrid or
that's what I'm saying.
Barcelona, those 3 clubs at this moment in time, and to be fair, you know, Manchester City and Liverpool have got managers who aren't going to be coming out of there anytime soon because they're wedded in.
Sure.
But in terms of Manchester United as an attraction, absolutely it's an attraction. What an opportunity. What an opportunity. To be honest with you, there's a core of a good squad there and a lot of talent. I mean, I look at the front 5 of Lukaku, Martial, Rashford, Sanchez, Mata. Wow. If you could get those 2 or 3 playing together up front in any combination, there should be 60, 70 goals there. If you get 3 of those 5 at it, there's 60, 70, 80 goals in any league. So there's an opportunity here to actually create something special. In midfield, I think they need people who control the game and can get hold of the ball and can take the ball in the half turn. I think we're short in midfield at Manchester United. I think defensively, there's no doubt we're short. You know, the back 4 at this moment in time doesn't resemble the back 4. There needs to be a couple of additions in the back 4 that are really good additions.
I mean, it starts this Saturday, away to Cardiff, ironically, if it is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Would you expect to see an immediate reaction?
We always do, don't we? We always see that sort of... It'll be interesting. It's really intriguing. Look, today, to be fair, my first and foremost thought is that, to be fair, I think it's always sad when... And I think Jose Mourinho has been a star in the Premier League, and there has been some language that he's finished, and there has been some language that he's done, and he's a spent force. It's ridiculous, and it's disrespectful in my opinion.
Where next for him? Will he get...
He'll get a great job. Jose Mourinho's a great manager. He's won wherever he's been. He's won... When people look back at this 2.5 years, 2 trophies in the FA Cup final. he'll look back on this with pride. He might be the most successful manager in this period for Manchester United. So in terms of Saturday, yeah, there's an opportunity. There'll be an excitement of moving forward, but today just feels a little bit too soon in the sense that still a manager has lost his job today, and to be fair, he deserves some respect because he's one of the greatest managers that I've ever seen and one of the best characters. This Premier League, he has given so much to the Premier League, and I think that does need to be mentioned. He has been a star for the last 15 years in our league.
OK, lastly, if Ed Woodward shared your enthusiasm for the same candidate, let's say it's Mauricio Pochettino, what's he got to do to get him in terms of moving heaven and earth? If you almost got to approach it like a transfer, whatever you've got to pay, whether it's 40 million, 50 million, I don't know. I'm not trying to lose Tottenham, their manager. But if the club identify him as the man, how important is this next managerial appointment?
There's two big jobs in the next 6 months. It's to plan for the next permanent manager of the club and get the absolute right candidate that I think meets the principles and values of United, which is entertaining football, promoting youth players and winning. So they're the three values, and you've got to fit those categories. Let's stick to that because it works. It's worked for 70, 80 years, so let's not move away from it. And then the next one is they have to make sure that he's got the platform to succeed behind him. What you can't do is keep changing the conductor at the front of the orchestra. The orchestra's not right because it'll still play bad music. Don't keep changing the conductor. Do something in here as well in the pit. Do something in the production. Change a little bit around it. Restructure it. Make sure the conductor is set up to succeed.
But what if the conductor, you've got to break the world record to get him? Is it worth it?
Yeah. The manager's the most important person in a football club. Make no mistake about that. That might not seem to be sort of... It is. Football clubs are about performance, high levels of performance and making sure you win. That is it. That is the basis of any football club. When it stops being about that, then to be honest with you, you are absolutely finished. And there's a suggestion at Manchester United they think more about the brand and about the commercial. They've got to put football back at the heart of the club. And that means they get the best coach possible and they get that coach at whatever cost because he's the most important individual in that club. He sets the culture, the mentality for everything that goes through the club.
Great stuff, Gary. This will be fascinating. This will run, and for all the reaction and all the latest, go over to Sky Sports News. We'll go there. But from us, for the time being, good night.
Sky Sports Premier League. Feel it all.